Hi there, I'm Natalie Gomez. This is for Dr. Schneider's Intro to Counseling Techniques class. This is for the final project for evaluation. I am here with Stephanie and we're going to go through with the counseling session. So Stephanie, what brings you here today?
I'm having some troubles with my coworker. She makes me really upset.
Could you elaborate on how she makes you upset?
She frustrates me with the way that she speaks down to me and my other coworkers when we're on the clock. It makes me feel unappreciated.
And in what ways does she make you feel unappreciated?
When I try to complete my daily tasks at work, she makes it a point to make comments to make it sound like I don't know what I'm actually doing. And she'll often point out that there's better ways to do it, like her way. And then she'll go on to explain that she must do it for me because I obviously don't know what I'm doing, which makes me feel pretty just underappreciated, honestly.
Okay. So what I'm kind of getting here is that you're having this sense of being unappreciated from your coworker because she feels that she's kind of over you in a sense of power, if I'm not mistaken. Am I getting that kind of correct here?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
She makes it sound like she is better than me, how her way is always going to be the right way. I'll never be as good as her because she's trained in multiple departments, which is pretty frustrating when it comes to trying to solve issues at work, like problems that arise.
Okay. And in what kind of ways does she kind of talk down to you or like other coworkers other than, with kind of showing you how she wants things done? What kind of examples do you have of like how is your way different from hers?
She likes to take shortcut routes, and I'm not really fond of that. I try to take it the full extent all the time. I don't like to take shortcuts because then that's when the mistakes are made. She feels that most of my long ways of doing things is just unnecessary. She thinks that if you can just take the shortcut and be sure every time, things would be okay.
So you would say you have different styles of doing your work?
Yeah, most definitely. I really think that I'm set in my way just because I feel familiar and I feel comfortable. And she thinks that it's wrong that I don't speed up the process in her way by cutting the corners. And that just gives us stylistic differences.
Okay. And how often do you two spend together at work? How much time do you guys spend together at work?
We only see each other one day, but we overlap for about 2.5 hours. Not very often, at least.
So you spend enough time with her where this can become a problem for you?
Yes, very much so, because it's weekly, and every week the same situation, it seems like.
Okay. So what other experiences have you heard from other coworkers? Have they ever said anything else about that or anything?
Yeah, my other coworkers have expressed to me that they are not fond of the way that she talks to them, and because we deal with customers on a daily basis, they mention that her attitude is an issue, or her nonverbal interactions, like her the way she walks or the way that she'll roll her eyes. It's just not welcoming to them, and it makes them feel like they're doing something wrong when they're really not, which is frustrating for me because they'll come in and vent to me or take it out on me when she's not around. It's not fair.
So essentially you're becoming frustrated yourself here.
Yeah, I'm becoming frustrated just because the problems that she makes for these people comes back and loops around when she's not even around, which I don't want to deal with that.
And have you discussed with your other coworkers on why they bring it up like this to you?
They feel comfortable talking to me, which I really appreciate. But at the same time, when they are having a bad day, they tend to take out their frustrations on the person who's around. And because I work day shift and she works an evening shift, they see more of me than they do of her. So I end up taking the brunt end of the situation.
So in a sense, from what I'm getting, you're the fallback person that they look towards for some advice, kind of like guidance in a sense.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, they're not only venting, but they're also kind of putting it on you in a sense like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like the backlash. It's like, they want to express it, but then they end up taking it a little too far sometimes. and it ends up coming back on me, and somehow it's my fault, which doesn't always make sense, but I try to look past it and understand that I'm sure that they're just very frustrated with her.
Yeah. So when you have talked about this coworker with your other coworkers, do you kind of vent any of the frustrations you have with them with how they speak with you?
I try not to talk about her with them, just because I work more closely with her in an office space wise, and for them I see them in a kind of come and go fashion. So I try to keep, in a way, I try to keep her name out of my mouth, even though my name seems to be in hers, which is fine. It's just hard to deal with at times.
Could you elaborate on how it's hard to deal with at that time?
It comes back and it ends up being that she'll end up gossiping about me, or she'll find ways to kind of throw me under the bus for situations I'm not involved in, which becomes a problem because now I have managers looking at me, or my reputation gets tarnished in a way because now my other coworkers that come to me for like as a customer, they're looking at me like, oh, she's the one that other person was talking about. She's the one with the problem, and I feel like I don't have any problems with anybody at work except for this coworker because of her attitude.
And do you think it's only how you two interact like stylistically and how you guys have different communications?
I think a little bit is she's not fond of me personality wise.
Okay.
I think she maybe thought that I stole her thunder at one point or another, because when I first got hired on, she used to be the really happy peppy one. And then when I was hired on, I was the happy peppy one that everyone was really happy to see, which is just who I am, and I was never trying to compete. But I think she took it as an offense that people enjoyed my company and talked about me more than they would have talked about her.
Okay.
So I think it dates back a long time ago, and I don't know if she's ever gotten over it or not, honestly.
So what I'm kind of getting here is she feels as though she's been replaced and you are just being here as yourself, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
You're not, you're being you, which is the most important thing. You have to be true to yourself always. And with her, it seems as though she is kind of taking that extra step forward where she's not happy about that. And she's almost taking it out on you is what I'm kind of getting here.
Yeah.
Right? Am I right about that?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like when she does talk about me, or she does try to make difficult situations for others, I think she's almost passive aggressively trying to get in my way to kind of, I guess, push herself ahead of me. Like she thinks it's a competition in my eyes. That's how I view it. But I'm not competing. I'm just here to do my job efficiently, and go home at the end of the day. And I feel like maybe she's attempting to compete with me, trying to win people over, and I'm not really there to do that. I have no desire to do that at all. But it seems that everybody talks about it like it is. So it just gets me in a bad mood sometimes, and I'm tired of dealing with it.
You kind of describe how often that bad mood comes up and how it makes you feel in a bad mood. Can you elaborate on this bad mood?
Yeah, the bad mood usually just results in me being a lot quieter at work. I don't voice my opinions as much. Sometimes it comes down to me having some attitude back towards her, but I really try not to do that, just because I know that's not the professional thing to do.
Right.
It can affect my personal life sometimes. I don't like going home in a bad mood and having to deal with that kind of stress when I'm trying to go home and have a good day or a good night with my family. It makes it difficult because they can tell I'm not me.
Do you feel like that happens often?
I would say at least the once a week when I do see her, something always seems to arise where she's having a bad day and she reflects it onto me, or she's trying to push something on me. So I would say at least once a week. Occasionally, if we have to see each other more, it seems to be more often. Only when I see her, it seems like.
Okay, that makes sense. And you do have that right to be frustrated. You have that kind of you're wanting to be respected, essentially, and you have every right to do that. You want to feel that you are safe and happy at work.
Exactly.
So definitely understandable. So if anything, other than the fact that that does happen, once a week, like you mentioned, Do you do anything to kind of combat that other than, discuss it with her?
I've tried to discuss it with her.
Mhm.
She closes the doors on me, honestly. She's not I would not say she's emotionally available for a conversation like that. She puts herself in a position where she's purposely standoffish. And I think it comes back down to just respecting who I am. She just wants to disrespect me because she knows it can get under my skin.
Okay.
So I think she's always, even though we're supposed to be a team, I think she always tries to work against me. If I'm doing it this way, she has to make a comment, and she has to make it look like I'm the fool. And I'm usually not the wrong one. We have stylistic differences, and I think it really irritates her that I don't follow what she says. Because she's been there longer, because she thinks she knows more, isn't necessarily true. I do my way, and I have my way. There's a reason I'm full-time. There's a reason I know how to do my job. I wouldn't have been put in a position if I wasn't ready for it. And for some reason she seems to think that that's not who I am. She wants to push me down back to being part-time. Oh, she's just an airhead, she wouldn't know. Those comments really can bring somebody down after a long time. So I try to talk to her, but it doesn't always follow through.
So, just to kind of make sure I'm following here, you have tried to communicate with her on this.
Oh, yeah.
And you have spoken with her in regards to how she behaves with you and how you feel about it. And you feel like you've hit a brick wall. Am I kind of getting that right?
Yeah, extremely brick wall. It's definitely was a one-sided conversation the first time I had it with her. The second time I had it with her, she was a little more open to talking to me, but definitely did not have anything nice to say. She made it obvious that I was still in the wrong, but she made it a point to just hear me out. That's what she kind of made it seem like. She's like, oh, I'll talk with you to appease you. But she was like, she's not going to change her ways.
Okay. So you feel as though she didn't quite listen to you. She didn't quite hear you completely, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Every time I try to say, well, the only real problem I have is that you don't respect me. Your attitude gets in the way of us trying to communicate. And she kind of would just, again, roll her eyes or just sassily look away at, like, the computer. And she's like, I don't have to change if I don't want to. And she's like, we respect each other enough here at work. And I don't feel that way at all. So when she says that, I really disagree with her. And she doesn't want to hear anything of it. She said she feels like if she says her piece, like, well, I hear what you're saying, but I don't agree kind of situation, the case can be dismissed. And that's not what I want. I want it to be resolved.
So what I'm getting is that you do try to resolve this with her. You're trying to kind of work towards having a more amicable work relationship. Am I getting that?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I don't want to be her enemy, and I understand we don't need to be friends.
Right.
But I do demand respect. I deserve a level of respect that I'm not receiving, that she doesn't seem to want to give me.
Right.
I respect her work, and I respect the work that she does in the office, which is perfectly fine, but she doesn't seem to reciprocate. And that's what's aggravating, honestly, because I work hard too, and she just refuses to acknowledge it.
Yeah, and it's a difficult thing to deal with another coworker. It can be frustrating. It can, upset you.
Yeah.
It's difficult from what it sounds like.
Yeah,
from what you're saying. Yeah. So, you are working through it. You have been, doing what you need to when you are at work. It does kind of mess with having a bad day for you, but you still seem to be able to manage through it.
I try.
Yeah, you try it. If anything, that's one of the best things you can do. You continue to do so, and you hope that, she can come around at some point.
I really do, because I don't want to have a work environment where either of us are unhappy for such a short time that we're together. But because it's so consistently, I don't know what else to do about it. Right. I just want to be equals, and she wants to be ahead of me in some way, whether that's like a supervisor or something. I think she just thinks that she's like a head leader. I just want to be equals, because that's truly what we are. We work the same job. We work the same position except for different times. I just want to be equals, and it's hard when you're talking to either a closed door or just an emotionally available person. It's really frustrating, but I do try to keep my head up.
And that's important.
Yeah.
You gotta keep doing that. And, of course you are the one who continue talking about that at any time. And so kind of to sum everything up that we've talked about here today, you have a coworker who you've had some difficulties with.
Mm-hmm.
She feels like she's a bit above you in the sense that she speaks down to you or the coworkers. And while you have stylistic differences, you do try your best to kind of see where she's coming from. And even with your best advances, which are your best advances, she does kind of push back a little.
Yeah.
And in turn, that can affect you negatively. So it's something that takes time, but you do, take it a day at a time, which is very important. You're doing something that sometimes is very difficult. So, it's important that, you keep working through it.
Thank you. I really do
Yeah.
try. I appreciate it.
And you keep trying, alright?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
How long was it?